And we're rolling.
Hey guys, Tim here, first video 2017, still proudly repping my Penn State gear, even after last night's disastrous loss to USC, but what the hell, it was a great season, so we'll forever wear this very, very proudly. Now today, we got a two-part series on some new equipment that CrossFit Jai got for the upcoming new year that will allow more people to both deadlift more safely, as well as press overhead more safely. So this will be the video on some new equipment that we got to help with the deadlifting. Now before we go over some of these new movements, just a quick word about deadlifting. So the deadlift is fundamentally a hip hinge type movement, which means that there's minimal knee bend, but maximal hip bend to keep a neutral spine and be able to pick up really, really heavy things. We like this movement a lot in CrossFit because A, it's the way that you have to probably get organized to pick something heavy up off the ground, and it lets us lift the heaviest weights out of all kind of the fundamental movement patterns that we talk about: squat, lunge, hinge, whatever. So we like moving very, very heavy weights. It gets us strong, it gets us looking better naked, but we like to do that with a nice neutral spine. So I'm going to show you 3 deadlift variations that we can talk about throughout the remainder of the video. You can come in close. Thanks as always to Kevin for being so kind, enough to record this. So deadlift variation number 1, and Kevin, you can get this from the side.
Yep.
Would be just the conventional deadlift from the ground. Conventional deadlift, meaning my feet are hip width apart. This is the deadlift that most of you guys are most familiar with. Looks something like this. Now the issue with this for some folks is that some people, be it temporary or permanently, will have issues at the hip preventing them from coming all the way down and keeping a nice neutral low back without grounding. So this is kind of the most aggressive deadlift variation. Ultimately, this is what everyone should be aiming for. This should be the variation that everyone should be able to do, plus or minus about 10 or 20% of the population. But a lot of people who walk in off the street cannot pull a heavy weight safely from the ground the first time they walk into the gym. So again, this would be the ultimate goal. But we have some tricks up our sleeve to load that pattern while we continue to work on flexibility to pull something off the ground while keeping a nice neutral spine. So the easiest variation, where we decrease the demand on that hip joint, would be something called the rack pull, where we elevate that bar so that it is about knee level. And Cav, if you want to swing around and get it from this side. So with this variation, we're removing that last 20 or 30 degrees of range of motion at the hip that might be problematic for some folks and cause them to round in that deadlift and put their back in some not so great positions. So again, easiest variation here, just the rack pull from the knees, same fundamental movement pattern, but we are avoiding the most problematic kind of area of that lift. Doesn't mean that you're stuck here forever, but if it's your first week, first month of CrossFitting, of lifting seriously, and you don't quite have that hip range of motion yet, this might be where we train you while we work on getting that full range of motion. Hopefully that made sense. Next most aggressive variation utilizes some cool new equipment that we got here at CrossFit Jai, and that would be the trap bar with high position handles. So 2 things that are pretty cool about this little piece of equipment. 1, the handles are on either side of you, meaning the load stays closer to you, which can be a lot more back friendly. 2, as you can see, those handles are slightly elevated to give us more of that rack pull type effect. Now the fundamental movement pattern is exactly the same, but now we're getting a little bit closer to the ground. This version looks something like this. So there we have 2 options for folks that, for whatever reason, be it flexibility issues, hip joint issues, maybe you're working around an injury, 2 versions of a deadlift that will enable you to continue to train that pattern and get a good training effect while you work on that hip range of motion. Thanks for watching.